You do all the talking, all the heavy lifting.
Who, me?
Yes.
No.
Yes, you do.
No.
I explained the topic so well to you, so
Are
you...
you joking?
Yes, you're doing it.
Okay. Russian hackers.
Hi, and welcome to the Cyber News Weekly podcast. This week we take a look at Russian hackers and their new interesting attack methods, explain Yamibito, whatever that is, and applaud Australians, of all people, who have decided to select Enshittification as their new word of the year. My name is Gintras. I'm a senior journalist here at Cyber News, and these are my friends and colleagues, Niv Ansel
Hello.
and Ernestos Napris,
Hi there.
both also journalists here at Cyber News.
Yes.
And we begin today's show by digging into a story that Ernestos wrote up this week. It's really interesting, by the way, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to explain it all, so I'm gonna give Ernestos a chance. But okay, just for starters, it's a story about a report from a cybersecurity firm, Volexity, that said that the Russian state hackers, most hackers in Russia are affiliated with the state, unfortunately, or unsurprisingly. They have been infiltrating organizations, as far as I understood, American organizations,
Yep.
or Western organizations, by exploiting nearby Wi-Fi networks. And by this, the Volexity firm means not networks close by the hackers, but close to or neighboring the organizations that are actually being targeted. So the hackers themselves, they can be on the moon, basically, and then still hack an organization, 10,000 miles away from the hackers physically by attacking or infiltrating or breaching a Wi-Fi network in the next building, so to speak. Explain more, Ernestos, because it sounds futuristical and dangerous.
Yeah. Let's imagine this. You pull out your phone and
Yes.
check your Wi-Fi. What do you see? You often see like 15 other networks called FBI WAN, CIA headquarters.
Oh yeah, I see them all the time.
Yeah, whatever, the clever imagination of your neighbors. So guess what? If you can see those Wi-Fi networks, any of your neighbors could see your network too. So
Yeah.
they could attempt to log into your router and access your endpoint. But in the past, when attackers wanted to attack the wireless network, they usually had to be nearby, maybe in a cafe, in a van with radio equipment.
Yes,
What
under the
was
ground.
yeah,
Right.
and Russian guys said, well, maybe we will stay on the couch, eat our borscht, and
That's Ukrainian.
yeah, I don't know, I'm not sure actually, maybe Russian salad or
Vodka. Okay.
and
Stereotypes.
yeah. So let's find a neighbor to our target and attack it first. So it's like hopping from one system to another until you are close enough to penetrate the wireless network of your victim. It's quite clever because, Wi-Fi routers are usually the weak point in the organization's security. In the case described by Volexity, cybersecurity firm, the organization had multi-factor authentication, everything in place, so attackers couldn't compromise even when having passwords. So they had to look for someone nearby. They found one organization. They couldn't breach it directly, so they found another neighbor, so they breached it, then hopped onto the organization B to then finally attack the organization A.
Mm-hmm.
And all they needed is username and password to log into the router. And from there, it's quite, it's not easy, but it's easier for them to move laterally because they can then exploit multiple known or unknown vulnerabilities. Once you're inside the network, it's quite easy to move laterally.
And the username and password of that neighboring organization, building, neighboring Wi-Fi hotspot, so to speak. They get it in traditional hacking methods like phishing or whatnot, or do they?
Yeah, they had all the passwords usually by exploiting info stealers. It's malware dedicated
Yeah, yeah.
to collecting information. They also used those so-called password spraying attacks. So if you are nearby your Wi-Fi router, for example, and you have a lot of time, you just can attempt to log in using multiple password combinations just by guessing them. If you are using
Like
password
a billion times in a second.
yeah, yeah. If you use the most popular password, which is password 123, it's quite easy to hack into.
Mm-hmm. All right. So my question is this then: how is it even then possible for any sort of organization to actually prevent this kind of breach, right? So, okay, so you've said yourself, you have MFA, you have everything like double down secure on your organization's network or system.
Before asking that question, I would ask another question. How would you find, as a hacker, a neighbor? How do you find a person or organization who to hack that's nearby? And the interesting thing is that Wi-Fi routers... No, Wi-Fi, but it's similar.
Does it tell you, wait, do Wi-Fi networks tell you that they're insecure? In a sense?
Well,
I
yeah.
think you have to strip them to see.
No, but if you try and log in, or if you successfully log in, it says when a Wi-Fi network is insecure, right? Is that something to do with it or no?
Well, at first, if you know the address of your target organization, you can find it on the map. But Wi-Fi names, the SSIDs, so-called, of the routers, are also mapped globally. So if you have Wi-Fi at home, and I'm not sure how it's called, maybe Mossad Den or whatever.
Yep, that's you.
By all means.
So you can just basically Google it and find exact location of your home.
That's creepy.
Okay, so if I
weird.
went on that tool or whatever and I looked for Hamas Lover 2000 or something, and I would find your Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Not mine, but if there is a person in the world who has this SSID, yes, you will find the exact location where it is.
Why
so you
is
Google
this
by the SSID name or by organization's name?
There are special
Google,
search engines, actually, special maps. So VPS, like Wi-Fi Global Positioning System, is quite a real thing and used by Apple, Google, and many tech companies to locate you when using Google Maps, for example. If GPS is not available, you use nearby Wi-Fi signals to determine your position.
Okay.
The hackers do the same.
Yeah. So okay. So then back to my question. Is that so? It's basically, well, I simplify it, but it's hopeless, isn't it? I mean, either each and every owner of any Wi-Fi network protects the network as best as possible, and it's impossible to hack any Wi-Fi network anywhere, neighbors or not, or any vulnerable organizations like the FBI, the CIA, or the ones holding important documents or whatnot, they just build their headquarters in a desert with no neighbors or whatnot.
Or you just do not use Wi-Fi.
Or you don't. What
use
do you use
Ethernet cable.
Ethernet.
LAN,
Okay.
yeah, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah, but you didn't answer this one.
Yeah,
you didn't? Oh, sorry.
So
I thought you did at
what
this
do you
point.
do to protect yourself? You separate your networks as best as you can.
Okay.
So if you have a wired network with sensitive data, you keep it in a separate network from your wireless systems. And if you can, use as many advanced security features as you can. There are routers that have multi-factor authentication.
Okay.
There is a system called Radius where you can have a centralized authentication place and select who can connect to your networks.
So that's you would implement all these defensive solutions to prevent even your neighbor's Wi-Fi. You mean you're talking about the primary target as an organization? What you can do still to avoid infiltrations from your neighbors, so to speak.
Well, if your Wi-Fi is called Mossad, then and you are very
It's not.
interesting target
If you're
for
obvious about
some state-sponsored hackers, they can do a lot to to attack you and to try to compromise your systems. For home users, actually, probably keeping use strong passwords. If your routers have an app with multi-factor authentication, use that of course. Then it will be much harder for attackers to breach the system. So for organizations, it's much more complex.
Yeah. But still, I mean, it's very hard for me to imagine every. Like you say, if you feel that you have some critically sensitive or important documents as an organization, you will probably think about protecting it as much as possible. But if it's still possible for to breach your network by infiltrating the neighbor's Wi-Fi or whatever, so you cannot control every coffee shop or private user.
Well, probably talking to your neighbors is also a good cybersecurity measure. Well, ask how
educating
they're
your
doing.
neighbors.
Yeah.
But it's so much fuss, isn't it? Unless, okay, so let's say it's not disclosed which organization was breached.
No.
Yeah, but it's presumably American, and the documents or the data had to do something with the Russo-Ukrainian war. I think that was in the report. So I mean, you're probably maybe a private organization working together with the state or whatnot. So I don't know. Maybe there's like a districts in towns. The whole block would be only informations or only organizations with holding sensitive information and needing to protect their Wi-Fi and nothing else.
Well, you can build a Faraday cage around your organization, but would that be practical?
Yeah.
Probably there are cases where that would be practical, but for most of companies, well, probably it's better to stick to the best cybersecurity practices, like separate networks, protect, use the multi-factor authentication, and all that stuff.
Yeah. By the way, Alexi said it wasn't a coincidence that this intrusion was carried out in late 2021 or very early 2022, so right before Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Yeah. And also, why do we think that the Russian hackers are now choosing this method instead of, sitting in a truck on a street next to the target building or whatnot? It's because it happened already and they were caught. I think in the Netherlands they were caught.
I think Russian hackers use whatever method they can use because, they just go. They take the shortest path available. So
why would you go to a physical location when you wouldn't need to?
Yeah. You can eat a Russian salad and stay on the couch. Why would you?
Yeah, but they weren't doing that before, even though it was probably possible before.
Yeah,
it's not like this is an invention.
I don't think it's the first time when any outside attacker went to a cafe nearby or used equipment in their van to try and attack the network. I think there was a case you mentioned in Netherlands, but it's a common scenario in Hollywood movies too, probably.
Yeah. There was a guy from Mandiant quoted in a piece that I read, John Hillquist, and he said that the GRU, which is the organization responsible for these hackers, and he said that yes, the GRU is inventive and they're always going to choose a method they think it's gonna work. Either it's the shortest route or the best route. In this case, they probably thought it's gonna be effective to do it from thousands of miles away. And I just wanted to quote him as well, that if a target is important enough, they're willing to send people in person. So I guess in the case of their being caught in the Netherlands, the target was important enough. That was the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, And that was after the attack on Skripals in Salisbury in England. If you remember, the ex-Russian spy and his daughter were poisoned with radioactive materials, almost died.
yeah.
And then it turned out these two guys, tourists, were sent to spill something, and the OPCW were trying to figure out what to do with the Russians using these kinds of chemical weapons, and the Russian hackers were sent to The Hague to sit in a car next to the building to get these materials out of the OPCW organization, but they didn't, and they were caught. But the target was important enough. This organization probably wasn't, and that's why the method was tried out of remote hacking into neighborly Wi-Fi networks. I don't know. And the quote continues that this is if the target is important enough, they're willing to send people in person. But if you don't have to do that, if you can come up with an alternative like what we're seeing here. This is a potentially major improvement for those types of operations, and it's something we'll probably see more of if we haven't already. Do you think we'll see more of those?
I believe so. I don't think that the Russian intelligence will put some limits on them, what they can do. They attempted to attack that organization directly. They were unsuccessful. Then they tried this hopping method, neighborly attack. I think if that failed, they can take a hatchet and go to the organization, try to break something like...
Spice
if they
it up.
really...
Pretending to be someone else, because that's what they usually do.
Yeah. Uber
You
Eats.
had a question a long time ago.
Oh, it's long gone now. Don't you worry. Don't you worry about it. I'm just here for the ride.
Right. So, while we're waiting for another wave of these sorts of attacks, again, which we might not even find out about ever, because some organizations will not disclose being breached, or some hackers will never be caught, or at least in some specific cases. We move on, anyways. And we move on to Japan, of all places, again. It's because social media and encrypted apps are luring Japan's youth into crime. Turns out it's not a new phenomenon, but it's been being talked about more and more because it's becoming a thing. Mm-hmm. And it's called Yamibito schemes. And Yamibito, I hear you asking what it is, and it is dark part-time job, literally.
Very
Yami is
covert.
Dark, and Baito is part-time job. So dark part-time jobs means like say dark gig economy kind of thing, right? So you're young, maybe you're 16, 19, and there's a lot of young people in Japan who are very lonely and sitting in their apartments for days or weeks at a time.
And you're stupid.
Where did that come from?
Well, maybe you're young and stupid and you want some extra cash, and you're thinking, what's kind of the best way that I can do this? Oh, right, I can go on Facebook and see an advertisement that says cash fast, and you go, oh, okay, that sounds good, and then you get embroiled in this.
Is that what you do?
Not I can neither confirm or deny.
But okay, let's first maybe explain a bit more properly.
Okay, I'm jumping ahead of ourselves.
Yeah,
here.
so Yamibito schemes are what happens when young people of Japan, but actually all over the world,
everywhere,
they're lured into committing deceptive, usually online crime, and they start with, like you said, these cryptic posts on
Facebook and whatever.
Yeah, like fast cash, high-paying job, whatnot. And it, you don't have to be smart not to believe them. I think a lot of social media is very similar these days, and some of the posts or job posts might be legitimate. Some of them might not be, but they will still sound more or less the same, I think.
But I think you should know, or if you know, I guess, but to know that Facebook isn't the place where you get a job. It's only social media places.
Things are still being advertised everywhere.
Yeah, for sure, but you should be skeptical. If it's not on LinkedIn, which is a committed social media network for that kind of thing, then you should be skeptical as to not take jobs online, because they could either be scams or they could either end up in some situation like this.
Okay, but still, I mean, there's a fake ad. The ad is real, but the job is pretty dark. So if you respond to an ad saying we need people for jobs using the internet, and then you talk to the elders of the internet and they allow you to take that job, right? And so you call back or write back, and then there's an interview, usually on Zoom at first, and then it switches to encrypted messaging apps like Telegram or whatnot, and then you blah 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 yappa 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 with the person, and then you take the job, and the job is basically like an order, like I said, it's a dark gig economy. It's you accept the order of maybe, I don't know, blackmailing someone online, or
sextortion or
or
some kind of
something.
cybercrime.
It's like Uber, basically. It's like food delivery,
But
Uber Eats.
what I found
But
really concerning
Cybercrime.
is that our colleague Marcus wrote that recruits, the process is you like give your ID and then you give information about your family. So you're embroiled in that now, because if somebody, presumably people are doing that because if you don't do what is asked of you or you decide to leave, then they'll have your family or your close ones' credentials or information so that they can go and do something horrible to them.
Yeah,
I think that's implied.
that's implied, but just I think the best advice in this case is to never ever
Don't accept.
upload your ID online.
Don't give away your family's information.
Well,
Also.
they could have not given that away. I mean,
No, you have to. It's a part of the process.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Yeah.
So then don't do that.
So
please.
just don't get involved in any of it.
You know. So yeah, and then your information is online. You're kind of you can be blackmailed into doing bad stuff, and you do that, and it's a wide kind of, it's a popular thing in Japan. It turns out. I mean, there's tens of thousands of these ads on the internet each day, and crimes are being committed, and these are all also physical crimes like robbery. You order all these stuff, all these crimes online, but then they can take place everywhere.
Well, there was this BBC podcast that about the, I can't say Yamibito. Yamibito, and it's set the scene where essentially these teenagers robbed a watch shop or a jewelry store and stole millions worth of Rolexes. So yeah, like you said, it does bleed into the physical realm.
Yeah,
Into the physical realm.
Japan is fighting the phenomenon. I guess by using new methods, because the old ones don't work anymore. Classic detection of these posts, it's impossible. There's just too many of them already. So they use AI to scan and to.
And surely with AI now, they're becoming more convincing, these ads, or they're becoming easier to.
Yeah, both sides use AI, I think.
Yeah, probably.
And but for the authorities, there's probably no other choice. You kind of prioritize speed. In this case, because these types of, like the gig economy itself as a general, it's very fast, it's very everyday, so you need to figure out what's going on as fast as possible, and AI helps you do that, I guess. I'm not sure which platform or which tool the Japanese authorities are using.
Maybe they have their own.
Maybe, of course it's possible, but it's also taking place in other countries, isn't it?
Yes, I found an article from Reuters that said that something similar was going on in Spain, in a little town next to Malaga. A married couple and their 15-year-old son were arrested and were accused of basically recruiting, or like maybe grooming, I don't know if it's the right word, but recruiting these young teenagers to go and commit crimes, like most commonly murder, which is absolutely insane to me, to recruit teenagers. There was this one Swedish teenager who was recruited by the family to kill, I think it was some kind of rival biker gang in Spain. He was recruited to kill one of the members of a biker gang. And yeah, it's happening all over the place. I've seen some other articles of teenagers being on WhatsApp being recruited into committing like money laundering, drug trafficking, that kind of stuff. Less cyber crime, but it's taking place everywhere on most encrypted social media like WhatsApp, Telegram.
Yeah, Telegram still seems to be the place where such activities do continue.
Yeah, I doubt that will ever change because people are so...
They're trying to go after Telegram and its owner.
Yeah, of course. Durov, yeah.
But I guess there's some kind of compromise will be reached or has been reached, and it's still these dark web operations are still active on Telegram as far as I'm concerned.
Despite Telegram giving some data to the Dutch authorities.
Yeah, but there's some places the FBI will not reach or will not bother to try reaching.
No, they're not going to get everyone. They're going to get the big fry.
Yeah.
Not the small fry.
But just the psychology then. I mean, teenagers, 16, 15...
Vulnerable.
17-year-olds choosing... Well, they might be even looking for such ads themselves. I mean, it's not only that the ads catch their eye somewhere on the web. I mean, they do have to click on stuff to see the ads and respond to them and then actually commit these crimes. Why do you think, Ernestus, people choose to complete the tasks, so to speak, to look for it and then, I mean, is it the general frustration or the willingness to see easy money or what is it?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't call Japan's or any country's youth stupid.
I take that back.
Yeah,
they're very
and
smart.
I think the problem is a lot deeper, and it boils down to having what options do they have. For example, as a young person, you're always facing high unemployment in your age group.
Yeah.
You are required to have a lot of experience if you want to land a job, and your options are usually the same Uber Eats or something else. And any person probably has incentives to establish themselves and have some income. So they're looking for the best options, and if the state cannot provide with better options, they turn to crime, sadly. So probably that's the way of thinking they have, because I believe Japan, you've probably study a lot and spend a lot of their time in schools and have the understanding what's happening, but they don't have many options to choose from.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, there's this phrase that I like. The kids these days, they're overprotected in the real world, and then they can't figure stuff out themselves, and they're underprotected in the online world, and they find these kinds of things, and they don't even know it's illegal, I guess. I mean, they do, but or not. I don't know. It's shady, but is it illegal?
But wouldn't it? I'm just thinking, in some cases, is it naive to think that these kids look for jobs and then they get on an interview and then they're basically tricked into giving their credentials and their next of kin and whatnot, and then they're just deep in this?
If that was true, I don't think that this would be a phenomenon, because you can trick once, trick twice, then the rumors spread.
Yeah, the word of mouth goes around.
Well, it surely must happen. It must be the case a few times, not like...
But, yeah, of course.
Is it just easier to commit crimes? And maybe because of the...
Yes, no tax.
And, maybe because of the age limitations. I don't know what it's like in Japan, but kids usually get less time or they get a lighter sentence. Depends on what you're tried for and what you commit, but...
Yeah, that's probably also true, but I continue, sorry.
But no, I was just thinking maybe that's why, teenagers do these crimes, because they feel like they will receive a lesser punishment and it's not as risky.
There are less barriers for sure. You just click a button online, and
I also think you
doesn't
don't
feel
have
like a crime as well.
you don't have the emotional or intellectual bandwidth yet. Your frontal lobe isn't fully formed, so you don't make the best decisions.
It's the frontal lobe is more or less formed at 15.
No,
14.
it's not.
Yes,
No, it's not. It's 25.
Okay, depends on the source.
But I believe. Okay, I've always been told and I've read that it's 25. But anyway, your brain isn't fully developed, and I don't think it's possible for you to make really good choices in that context.
I think if you are jobless, it doesn't depend on your age. If you're desperate to get any opportunity to have...
But shouldn't you
I've never
be
committed a
jobless?
crime, and I've
Shouldn't
been
you
jobless.
be jobless at 17? You should be at school.
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's necessarily... Yeah, unemployment might be low in that age group because people don't generally get employed at that age. Like, a lot of people that I've known, I'm from the UK, they weren't employed or they didn't get a job until they were like 18 because they were asked or like told to focus on their studies. So
Maybe they are
in
just
some countries-
nostalgic about Yakuza.
Maybe.
Maybe, yeah. They've seen Tokyo Vice on HBO, that's why. Probably.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I tend to agree with Ernestus more than with you, Neve. But actually, I agree with you both. I think it is easy money, but also they wouldn't be looking for easy money if the economy was a bit fairer, I guess. And I presume they're not even talking about like teenagers. I think young people in general. And I think if you're 21 and you're Japanese, you're still as likely to commit these type of crimes as a 17-year-old.
I actually watched a
You're
film
young
about
and
this.
desperate, and the economy is not maybe fair to you, or you don't think it's fair to you. And when the experts say that a deeper cultural shift is needed to combat this exploitative trend.
Yeah, talking about seniority in Japan.
Exactly. So Japan, Spain, Sweden, it's the same countries. I'm basically in terms of their structure of society, right? Age groups and whatnot. So yeah.
But there was also an interesting story that I read. I'm a bit hazy on the details, but it was something like in Sweden, teenagers were being recruited to try and attack Israeli technology companies. So maybe there's like a political motivation behind.
In Japan.
No, in Sweden.
Well, then it's everywhere. It's just as possible in Sweden as everywhere. Political motivations or not.
I just read that story and I thought it was interesting.
If you have a Wi-Fi Mossad, then I think you're a target anywhere.
We should say to young people that political motivations are not green light for a crime.
Oh yeah.
Precise.
Oh yeah. Okay. Moving on to enshittification.
What a lovely way to end this podcast. Enshittification.
Ooh,
Yes.
what a nice word.
But it is a nice word.
Never heard of it before until now.
Well, I have, and it's
Well, good.
yeah, it's a bit long, but it's I think it's very precise in describing the situation in online world right now. It's enshittified, isn't it?
Enshittification.
So a bit of a backstory here. A Canadian-British blogger and journalist, Cory Doctorow, whatever. Sorry, he's coined the term in 2022. Actually, enshittification. It's 2 years old already, and he himself spoke about what it means, and it reflects the general feeling of deep disappointment with digital services, especially social media platforms, of course. So I actually endorse and preach and all of those things. I like the word, and I do applaud Australians for choosing it as their word of the year. I would actually choose it for multiple years now, because I do think, I don't know if you agree, that the digital platforms have executed an enshittification of our online worlds.
I feel like, I don't know, I see enshittification happening.
Live.
And live, yeah. So, for example, how Facebook was the big thing once upon a time, and now you just see an endless stream of just nonsense. Your grandma posts something, and then you just get AI and just awful videos, 5-minute crafts. Sorry, but it's bad. All of that kind of stuff, and you see the downfall of these sites
as well. It's Facebook as in social media. It's, for me, it's Netflix among streaming platforms. It's just enshittified, isn't
It's
it?
Well,
like
yeah,
a
it's-
common playbook for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's, I don't know. Spotify is doing okay, I think, because
Spotify's fine.
it's more customizable and less enshittifiable. I don't know, but Facebook, X,
X is bad, bad.
Netflix, whatever.
Apparently
Amazon.
Reddit as
Amazon,
well.
yeah, it's just, oh my god, it's so enshittified.
Reddit after it's changed an API, that kind of stuff. Apparently, people said it's becoming enshittified.
Yeah. So, anyways, I mean, Ernestus, you presumably agree that it's the right word to describe where this is all going.
I wanted to watch YouTube less, and YouTube makes it easier for me now with all the ads, 2 ads before video, one in the middle.
Yeah. I
So-
agree.
I try and listen to a podcast whilst I'm falling asleep on YouTube, and I'm drifting off, and then bang, ad after ad. Sucks.
Just buy yourself a premium account.
I know I should at this
They're
point.
sucking us off. Like, basically, they want
They're doing
our
what?
money for everything. No. That's what.
But that's the
Bleeding us
problem.
dry,
I want
sucking
to
us
use
off.
less of it.
and suckification.
They're sucking us off.
I believe we're gonna be censored for this
Yeah.
by YouTube. Of all
Yeah,
places.
sorry, YouTube Premium, not buying you.
I'm just thinking, is this only related to internet? For example, aviation companies. Previously, like in the 60s or 70s, you see people with cigars and steaks in the planes. And now what we have Ryanair. So there was some enshittification also.
Yeah, when you think of it, it's the life cycle of every company, really. And Dr. Rao was talking about digital platforms, but it does apply to all sorts of companies, isn't it? It's okay. The cycle goes according to him like this. At first, platforms, or let's imagine organizations like Ryanair or whatever, they're really accommodating to their users. It's cheap, it's nice, and you fly. It's €1, $1, £1, or £10 to fly from London to, I don't know, Spain somewhere, and it's very nice and all that. Okay, so Ryanair might not be the best example because they're not catering to their business customers as eventually digital platforms do, as Netflix, and they have to sell themselves to the investors after some time because people, we're just peanuts to them because they need money to be invested. So they cater to them. That's the second stage. And then
they abuse us at some point.
and then they abuse us is what is remaining. The business clients to gain profit only for themselves. And then they rebrand, of course, and then the whole cycle starts all over again.
Well, isn't like Facebook just a ad marketing place now?
Oh, yeah. But Google is also.
Yeah, but I feel like Facebook set itself up to be like a social network where we keep people together and blah blah blah. And now it's just a money making machine. Ads upon ads upon ads.
Yeah, and it's not even a town hall kind of feeling-y anymore.
No,
because
also neither is X,
Well,
which it
true,
claims
true.
so desperately to be.
Yeah, and speaking of, there was a story wrote about
Aha, yes.
about that some types or groups of people are actually, I don't know if they're actively silenced
No.
or they just
They're not actively
they're not heard.
Well, yeah, the voices of these groups aren't as prominent because they're dominated by Republican men, essentially. So on X,
So where? Okay.
on X, yeah, and actually other social media platforms besides TikTok. Men are the predominant group of news influencers. So it says that like 4 out of 10 Americans or something like that get their news from news influencers. Don't know if that number is correct. Don't quote me on it.
Very sad.
I don't know. Maybe it is.
I'll
maybe it
explain
isn't.
why.
Okay. But yeah. So news influencers are predominantly male. On X, it was 63%. 30% were female, and 7% their gender couldn't be identified. And a lot, despite like Elon Musk lamenting that basically, legacy media and blah 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 and all of this, they're censoring us, they're censoring the conservative voice. They're not, because most news influencers on X particularly are Republicans. So not saying that that's bad, but stop crying about it, Elon.
Now I think actually I like enshittification. You know why?
Yeah.
But because that usually happens, then the company grows too big and too arrogant. Look at Facebook. They kind of became on the top of the world and shittified their service, and suddenly many competitors pop off. Like on Twitter, the same. Now you have Blue Sky, you have Mastodon, you have many more competitors coming into the market, and you then suddenly can choose from better options. So I would say, do not pay for YouTube Premium. Pay for someone else's platform.
I like your thinking, because
Is there another platform? That's the problem.
I think
there will be one. Like that's what I find interesting
But
about
Google will kill it off because they have cash, and they have been doing this for ages. Facebook, why did they buy Instagram? Because they didn't like Instagram growing as a rival, and they keep doing this. And most of these purchases of potential rivals, we don't even know about. And YouTube has been acquiring stuff from others as well, or copying like features from other websites, because they have enough billions of dollars to kill off competition.
I'm confused. You're saying that Google owns Instagram?
Well, anyway, if
YouTube.
they even kill the competition,
okay.
still everyone wins. You used another competitor's service. Competitors got paid by Google. Then they can create something new with that money, and again erode the dominance of YouTube.
Maybe, but the FTC might be actually they might. I would enjoy the FTC order, or like the judge ordering for Google to be broken up, or Microsoft, or Facebook, or Meta. And under Donald Trump's administration, I don't think it's going to happen, because these tech leaders are sucking
each other.
Donald's hair these days. But you have the regulation would help. It wouldn't be even like a hardcore regulation. It would be a soft push towards
softcore. Softcore regulation.
I don't think that Google is immune to creative destruction. The phenomenon is that the competition, once it got niche to come in, it will come. So I think YouTube also grows arrogant and does not respect its users anymore.
I like what you said about the Enshittification, because I watch podcasts called Brittany Broski and the Broski Report, and she talks about how she's excited that new competitors to these apps like TikTok and others are going to be formed because of Enshittification, and what creatives will come out of these platforms. I think that's quite nice. I quite like that. So maybe I like Enshittification too.
I do hope that more platforms will be available, and more people will choose to use more of these platforms, or at least switch from time to time. I don't know. People are jumping between streaming platforms, by the way, so they might end up jumping between social media platforms. Not using one or two regularly, but then Blue Sky now, and then maybe X is something interesting isn't going on X these past couple of months. So maybe might check that out, but not just be stuck to the
loyal
Facebook
to one
or X or whatnot, because X, like we have talked numerous times, is a cesspool of stuff right now.
And I mean, if you're a liberal and you hate what's going on X, then go to TikTok, because it's actually basically a 50-50 split between, going back to the news influencers thing, women and men, and non-identifying, yes, and the majority of news influencers on TikTok are liberal. So
yeah, but if you don't even want to hear, let's say, hogwash from some right-wing leaning accounts, because they have been proven to spread most misinformation online, so you'd go to Blue Sky.
And Elon Musk has been prompting.
Or maybe go to Coursera, find something useful, learn
or
something.
or read a book, or
go and touch some grass or something.
Or smoke some, as we have said
numerous
times. Related to that, what you're saying, you go to TikTok or wherever, but the fact remains that 2/3 of these digital content creators, otherwise known as influencers,
news influencers,
do not fact check whatever they spew out.
I'm sure not.
So 2/3, 66% of influencers online, they do not even know basically what a fact is.
And the majority of them
And
aren't.
they're just opinionized, you know, they just spew out stuff that they think or they've been told to say, I don't know. And then they don't know what fact checking is, what's accuracy, what's actually news, and what's,
Also,
you know,
um,
trustworthy.
like 90% of news influencers aren't journalists. They're not affiliated
yeah.
with any kind of media outlet, so they haven't.
Because we are the media. As
we
Elon
know
Musk
what's up.
says.
I
Okay,
don't know what's
anyway.
up.
Right. Should we end this now?
So yeah.
I think it's time to say goodbye.
I think it's time. Holidays are coming, as you can see.
Woo!
Okay, this was Ernestas, Neve, and me, Gentris. Thank you for watching or listening. Bye-bye.